Is your head in here enough?
I can slouch a little.
I did sit on a cushion to be taller.
I know. So I'll slouch just for you.
It's the most romantic
I never
ever said.
slouch.
High five.
It's the most awkward high five ever.
You think we could get this down after
like 30 years of being together?
we basically came out of the wombs next to each other. Not that next to each other. That's a little weird. Hey guys, it's Jen.
And Ben.
And it's time for another episode of Ask Jen.
And Ben.
I've had so many of you guys asking questions lately about how our renovation is going, what we have spent on our renovation, what was the timeline, what was the hardest, easiest, etc. So I thought it would just be great for us to both sit down and answer all of your renovation questions.
Just get it all out.
Get it all out. Get all your feelings out. I ask you guys questions on my Instagram, what you are burning to ask. You're burning questions.
Let's not burn here.
We don't want to burn. We're building. Okay, asking your questions on how to build up your knowledge of what to expect in a renovation and how ours is going. So today is going to be a little extra special because I am partnering with Mani-Me, which is a at-home LA-based beauty tech company that makes gel manicures that you can stick onto your fingernails, and they are custom sized to fit your particular nails. So instead of like a mukbang where we're eating while we're answering questions, I'm gonna be doing my nails. If you guys are into nails also, let me know in the comments.
A nail bang?
If nail bang? These are made by 3D modeling technology, which is so super cool, and they're also made in collaboration, like the designs, with actual nail artists. Basically things that you would ordinarily just see on the Instagram. You can put it on your fingernails.
I like this one.
Yeah,
The black and gold one.
I actually have quite a lot of styles from like their holiday collection. I think because my last nails were pretty neutral, I want to go with something a little more Art Deco, which I think is appropriate because the style of our home, we're trying to make it kind of Art Deco-y.
Yeah, you're upgrading your nails.
I know, I'm so excited. These are also one of Allure's 2020 Best of Beauty winners, as well as Time Magazine's Best Inventions of 2020 award winners. Ordinarily, I would probably spend hours and hours trying to recreate these designs by painting them on my nails or spending money having somebody else paint it for me. So this is kind of nice because obviously with everything going on, it's just not easy to get out of the house. These are literally delivered to your door. Should we hop into some of the questions here?
Using Jen's phone if you guys like the little...
No, I think that one's yours and you just like a really glamorous
look. Oh, yeah. I'm very into Jaguars right now.
Carol Baskin.
Okay, no, not Jaguars. Those are tigers. It's insulting.
I didn't say anything.
Okay, who has made more design choices?
That's a pretty easy one. I would definitely say I'm the more design-forward person. I feel like you definitely have your opinions.
I'm the more opinion-forward person. Jen is very good at going into a room and like
visualizing,
knowing if the structure is good for a future look. I am a much more smaller picture person where I think about like how a certain thing would look, like whether it's a entertainment stand or a stove. Just because you are working on a much larger scale, you make way more design decisions. I
like to understand what the whole vision of the room is going to be, you know, like the color scheme and like the design style and that sort of thing.
And then I'm like, I like that light.
Yeah, I'll basically choose an aesthetic and then we'll have like a few options of specifics, like of a specific lighting fixture, and then Ben will say, oh, I hate that one, I like that one, that sort of thing.
How long has the renovation taken, and what is the most difficult part during reno? The renovation has technically started since February, and the most difficult part...
And it's now December.
The most difficult part has been COVID 2020.
Yeah.
So, and
we
that's
couldn't have predicted that, you know?
That's the thing, is like, we definitely don't want people to think that this renovation has just been a nightmare of like problems. It's more that there's been a lot of things that add up that have just dragged it out over time. The biggest being COVID, because when that hit, they shut down right as we were expected to get our permits. And instead of getting our permits within a couple days, that turned into almost 2 months.
People working on commercial buildings, all of the contractors waiting to move forward. It really came to a halt, and not just for our small little like residential issues. Although for us, it was really sad because we were sitting there living in an Airbnb, paying thousands of dollars, waiting with an empty house that nobody could work on. That was really, really stressful, to be honest, because, we were planning on just being in an Airbnb for a couple of months to hold us over so that we could have everything completed by the time we moved into our brand new house. Looking back, obviously that was like very wishful thinking, because we're now in December. The renovations are not completed yet. We've been living with the renovations this whole time.
But, what can you do?
Wear a mask and
Okay.
roll with it.
Replace window frames or just paint them?
Ooh, I wish it was just paint.
With the windows here, they were really bad.
We couldn't even open some. A lot of the windows were literally painted shut from who knows how many years ago and how many paint jobs ago.
And the paint was peeling. A lot of them had water damage where the water was seeping inside the windowsill.
There were cracks, and there was like termite damage inside where the water damage happened. So some of the wood had rotted through, and it would literally be dangerous. Say it was like one of the kids pushing against it. It could have just broken because they were hollow.
And this goes just for home buying in general. They passed general inspections fairly well. The general inspector does not go through and like mess with every single window and be like, I think there's termite damage here. The fact that the windows were as bad as they were was something that we had to eat into our budget, because we really, really wanted to have those done right away. And we didn't want anything to get worse.
So if you do have a historical property, I highly, highly recommend specifically seeking out somebody who does historic restorations, because we talked to so many different people just asking them if they could do windows, like different painters, and honestly the level of knowledge is so completely different.
Your favorite part of renovations?
Designing something in my mind and then seeing it in real life actually happen the way that you dreamed it, like that's so gratifying for me. So even though there's all of this stress when every day they come in and they grout the tiles, or we have a backsplash, or they painted the cabinets, to me it's very rewarding in a continuous progression.
It's almost like you're learning the small steps of improvement in a home, and you feel actively like you're not taking it for granted. Would you ever want to build a home from scratch?
I don't think so. I actually really love having an old house that has a lot of life and history and stories. Like, I actually decided to try to do research on the people who used to live here. I looked up our address on ancestry.com and like all of these different websites just to see who had been attached to this house in the past. And we just learned such interesting things. Like, Ben and I are from Kansas. One of the, I think the first family who ever lived in this house in like 1926 or 7 or something, they were from Kansas. And it just felt extra special when I found that out.
Wasn't it like the guy was from Kansas and the girl was from Missouri?
I think so. And then they had like 3 children. I found it so charming.
I think it would depend on where we lived. If it were Kansas, there's just so much land development out there, expanding westward, that I feel...
Sounds like it should be like a band name. Expanding westward. Our album is coming out in based on 2021.
Based on the home networks of Kansas developmental growth. So thrilling. What was the biggest disagreement over, and what could you not decide on? I'm wondering if it was about the placement of the laundry.
My mom, she has arthritis, so she's always saying like, have a laundry room on your main floor. You don't want to be going up and down stairs. You don't want it in the basement. It's just a lot of more work to carry all of that laundry up and down stairs. Originally, our plan when we first decided to take down the wall in our kitchen, what was previously an existing laundry room. Should I backtrack? If you guys haven't seen seen our house tour, I will link it up here and in the info box down below so you can kind of get an idea of what the layout is. But our kitchen used to be 3 small rooms. There was a small kitchen, a small breakfast room, and a small laundry room. So we just took down those 2 walls and made it just one large kitchen space. But that means that we had to figure out what to do with the laundry. And one of my ideas was to just make like a laundry cabinet in the kitchen. Or we could have put it in the basement, which is attached to the kitchen, but it's an unfinished basement and it's downstairs. But yeah, the laundry was probably the biggest like major conflict where we went back and forth. We like designed it one way and we're like, oh, I don't like that. Let's try to do it another way. Oh, I don't like that. Until we finally figured out to just have our kitchen where it is and then taking one of the closets and turning that into the laundry, which we were both ultimately super happy with. One hand is down. Looking very glam, very deco. I love it.
Very fancy.
Very fancy.
This is one that I wanted to answer. What is something you wanted but couldn't get? Lots of things. We actually have an ADU in the back that needs extensive work. That is just completely written out of the budget. Like, we're not even thinking about it.
An ADU being another small living space on the property. It's actually sort of the studio that's above our garage, and our garage is detached. So potentially we were thinking, oh, you know, we could rent that out or we could turn it into a studio. Honestly, to do that right now, it just isn't the highest on our priority list, and we don't have the budget to do it because it would be very expensive.
Next question. What was the most expensive part?
As a broad statement, the most expensive renovations you can do in a house are always going to be
Okay.
kitchens and bathrooms.
Yes.
Anything where you're doing a lot of plumbing and tiling and waterproofing.
Granted, the cost of redoing a kitchen, like our first kitchen we did at our first house, we left everything where it was. We reused cabinets. We reused plumbing fixtures. We kept some of the old appliances. So we kept everything in place, and it was significantly cheaper than like what we're going through now. I liked this question. What store do you do most of the shopping at? Build?
Yeah, we buy a lot of stuff from Build.com.
Is a big one. Yeah. Build.com. Usually, like designers or contractors sometimes will have discounts for suppliers, and so that is where we get a lot of our stuff from.
It's not like a huge discount, but like anything helps when you're buying like large quantities of stuff. And I think one thing we found is that, say we liked a certain drawer pull. Well, on another site, they might have a specific number in stock. They might have like 5, 6, 7, 8. What if you need 30 of them? From my experience of just buying stuff, it just seems like Build tended to be the most consistent with having enough in stock, and I just trust that the parts are all like genuine and consistent.
Like, looking at them compared to Amazon, who we've used in the past, Build, the prices are usually very similar or cheaper.
Yeah.
And it's like with Build, we know that it's coming from a like credited manufacturer versus like Amazon. Sometimes you get third parties that try to
resellers, and you can't really tell very easily.
And Amazon can't tell because they're just reselling it out of their warehouses. But so that's been our biggest probably.
I mean, if you need something really quickly, like, and you must use that Prime shipping, Amazon is okay, but it's not our first choice.
Yeah, if you're just redoing like a closet or something and you just need a couple handlebars or something, it's not a bad option.
But in terms of things like tile, for instance, we usually have just ordered it from the manufacturer directly.
What is your favorite before and after shots so far? One of my favorite before and after shots is the kids' rooms, just because before they had very interesting curtain choices here. The rooms felt stuffy and they felt small. And then once we actually got the kids' stuff in and we repainted, and curtain rods that were like nice were installed, and it looks amazing now. I also really like the hallway shot, because the hallway is something that when we were doing it at the time, it didn't feel like things were hugely significant, like repainting the walls, painting the railing on the stairwell, changing out the thermostat. It felt pretty minimal, but then when you look at the before and after picture, it feels a lot brighter, it feels newer, before?
I'm too distracted by my nails to answer the question.
Do you have a favorite before and after shot?
My favorite before and after has to be the powder bathroom because I worked so very hard on the stenciling in there. And I had a few people ask me, like, oh, where did you get that wallpaper? And for me to just be like, it's not wallpaper, it's a stencil. I did it by myself. Like, it feels kind of gratifying, but then I also feel like it took so long to paint. So many blood, sweat, and tears. But I think it looks really cool. So like that for me, like that transformation is makes me so happy.
That's one you can be proud of. Do you two have to compromise a lot, or do you have similar styles? We have pretty similar styles. I feel like you have a stronger sense of what your style you like is, whereas sometimes I'm just like, I like that. And you're like, that's mid-century modern. And I'm like,
I don't know. I think when
works
Ben,
for me.
Yeah, when Ben sees something, he just likes something that looks like aesthetic.
I'm not
pleasing.
held back by stylistic categories. Yeah.
Ooh, he's beyond the boundaries.
Yeah.
There are certain things that you don't like, but I think it's easier for you to identify what you don't like versus like a whole category that you do.
I'm very into shabby chic.
No, you're not.
Is reno all at once before moving in worth it now that you've gone through it? She didn't say twice, but I'm saying twice. We basically got not kicked out of the Airbnb. Our 4-month stay was basically up and they had somebody coming in. When we moved back in, our contractor was saying like, if you could get 2 more weeks, we'll have like the area cleaned up and you'll have a lot more comfortable living area. But we had to move back in, and so we were living with like a bunch of like plastic sheets everywhere, like protecting us from the dust.
It was awful.
And there were some lights that just like didn't turn off.
Oh yeah, because we didn't have a switch.
Some rooms that didn't have lights at all. There were some rooms that the outlets weren't on. There was just like so much going on, and there was a heat wave going on. Only our bathroom was working, but that felt like home, whereas the Airbnb did not. Even with all of the inconveniences that we were going through, still prefer it. Still would have been okay with it. We had our kitchen being done for 6 weeks when we first moved into our first home. I still feel like that still feels similar to what we're going on now, even though this is way more extensive and drawn out. You're getting your conveniences that you've been used to for like years taken away, and it's just like learning to adapt.
We've done a lot of adapting this year. Yeah. I miss having a garbage disposal, washing dishes. I know that's largely like a US based thing. A lot of other countries don't have that, but after having it and then not having it, it's like, I don't take it for granted at all, you know?
Could you talk through materials you chose and why? Yes. Porcelain!
Yeah,
porcelain everywhere.
Are huge advocates of porcelain. Look,
porcelain tile, porcelain countertops, porcelain chair, porcelain table, porcelain lights, porcelain doors, porcelain people.
So the reason why we're so particular about porcelain in terms of durability, in terms of staying clean, in terms of like not permeating liquids and stains, just being a hard enough material that they'll stand up to children and whatever. This is the tricky part, is finding porcelain tiles that also still look luxurious and upscale, because that's my taste. I want things to look a little bit more fancy and classy and really look nice over the course of time. Like, I don't want something to just look dated in like 2020, for instance. I know some people might disagree, but my inspiration was coming from the 1920s, which was 100 years ago, and I feel like a lot of those styles that inspired me are still cool today. And so I wanted the floors to sort of reflect that. So a lot of them look like marble, but they're actually porcelain. So we did that for the laundry room, and then we also did that for the kitchen flooring, which we've had so many people asking questions about. That's actually a tile that our designers found for us, and I adore it. I had so many pictures on my Pinterest that had these large-scale floor patterns with like a big white square with like black bordering it. We had marble at our last house in our bathroom, and man, it just absorbs stuff. I dropped some coconut oil on the floor there, and that was a permanent stain, and that broke my heart. So I was like, I can't do that for this house.
Moving on, marble.
In terms of countertops, I think one of the best choices we made is using a newer material that just came out like in the last couple of years. These large slab marble looking porcelain. It's made of the same material as the floor tiles. But the thing is, it's tricky. You have to find a contractor who has experience working with porcelain countertops because they have very specific tools that they need to be able to cut it. It's a delicate process in making the holes correct and placing it and not breaking it or chipping it. Once it's in place, it's super, super sturdy. We went on a big risk this time compared to the quartz that we had and really loved in our last kitchen. So in terms of kitchen counters, I would still say our favorite by far, our recommendations are to go with quartz or porcelain over something like marble or granite because there's less maintenance that you have to do. You don't have to seal it. You don't have to like waterproof it or anything like that. However, I do still have a special place in my heart for marble. I do. I love how it looks. I love the different varieties. Marble at the high end is also very, very expensive.
I like flowers, but I want to make my floor of flowers, you know?
Yeah.
I like marble. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I just don't like it as like a place to step on. I'll live vicariously through everyone else that has marble.
We kind of went with what's practical for our family for the long term.
How many estimates do you get before deciding? I think the general rule of thumb is 3, right?
At least 3. I have usually gotten between 3 and 5.
Jen did 4 for painting, and we got a good feeling of like each different person, how they work, their pricing. We went with a family and they worked out super great. I did the exact same thing for plumbing for installing a tankless heater. I didn't go with the cheapest. I went with the one that I felt was the most solid. Everybody had good Yelp reviews, you know. It's more of like finding out who works for you. I regretted it because it didn't work out the best.
Yeah.
And so it's a good example of like, even if you get a lot of estimates, you still can make not the best choice for your home.
And that's okay. It's a totally normal thing. And unfortunately, as homeowners, you are liable to pay for all of the people that you hire. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And you can't always predict it. What's even better is to just have a good recommendation from a friend of yours. Nails, they are looking so fly. Man, this is so pretty.
What went wrong and what went well? I feel like a lot of people going through home renovations aren't going to be quick to tell you all the things that went right. They will have a laundry list of everything that went wrong. I was super worried we were going to find like extensive like termite damage and like water damage or like, you know, a monkey hiding somewhere in the walls or something. I don't know. The biggest things that came up for us was COVID, permits, and asbestos.
When we first set out to redo the kitchen, we were just going to keep the layout actually, not open up the walls because we were like, we can save money in that and then put it toward our bathroom renovation. When we looked at the space and really tried to visualize what it would be like if these walls were all open, if you could stand at the front of the house and see the back of the house, and we would have this great flow and a beautiful gathering space, I think that you and I were like, okay, we know it's going to be above our budget that we first planned on, but I want to do justice to this house. We knew it would be so beautiful. I think if we had set out to do the big wall tearing down from the very beginning, we could have tempered our expectations a little bit better. But something that we thought would just take a couple months to complete ended up being an estimate of more like 4 to 6 months, and then COVID happened. So it's gone on like twice as long.
To summarize it, the snowball effect was, let's change this. And in order to change this, we had to get a permit. And in order to get a permit, we needed a site plan. In order to get the site plan, we needed
to hire
an architect. In order to get
the architect,
we had to hire
a structural engineer to look at the space, do his engineering, sign off, and then give those plans to the architect, have the architect make all of those plans, which again takes like weeks to do and a large sum of money to pay the architect, to pay the structural engineer, and we weren't planning on doing any of that.
It's more the time. The time was killer. here. Advice on finding reliable contractors is a question we get a lot.
A lot. One thing that I will say about contractors is there are general contractors and then there are subcontractors. So a general contractor is sort of going to be the main manager guy who is sort of like the puppet master. He has all of these different dudes in his tool belt that he can send out, and he can manage their schedules, and he can make sure everybody's on top of everything. And he is, for us, very invaluable in a renovation. Like, if you can trust the head honcho, he can make all the other parts work. But if you just need a little plumbing fix, like say your toilet breaks and you need to replace a toilet, then if you wanted to, you don't have to hire a whole general contractor. You can just hire a subcontractor. Our general contractor, you know, he has a plumber, he has an electrician, he has like a painter, he has all these other dudes. But you could just go to Yelp and look up plumber, you know, and find a good plumber. Both of those situations are ones that you can get multiple quotes on. But the number one best thing I would say is like talk to your friends who have homes and see like, oh, do you know a good general contractor, or do you know a good plumber?
Especially with general contractors, because they're working on projects for so long, you really get an idea of, is this person worth it or not?
I think for us, probably the general contractor is the most important person that we've hired for any of our renovations we've done, because they're just our point of contact to do anything, to do everything.
Yeah, so ask through Instagram, Facebook, wherever. You know, you can get a lot of responses from your friends, say like what you're planning on doing. Odds are somebody will say like, oh, you know, I did this, or like my parents are going through this right now. I can send you their info.
Especially lately, everybody's doing renovations.
Oh yeah, should be easy, hopefully, maybe. Nothing in 2020 has been
Nothing's
easy. Okay,
easy.
never mind, I'm sorry. Last question. How do you guys handle the stress that comes with home renovations? And it's something I've thought about a lot.
You know, I feel like it would be easier if we could just actually take a family vacation somewhere, but with COVID this year, that hasn't been possible. You know, we literally have to stay at home.
So one easy way to handle the stress is find a routine, whether that is reading a book, baking at night, if you have an oven that is accessible. We watch Mandalorian every week, but just finding something that you can do
that
nightly
feels normal
or weekly that will just take you out of it,
yeah,
even if you can't access half of your house.
Yeah. The thing is, we worried a lot about how the kids would take it, but more than anyone, I feel like they have just rolled with every punch and every change.
Yeah, they take it
totally
in stride.
Yeah.
Doesn't even affect them.
It's definitely mentally harder on the adults, like the fear of this change, because the kids are used to change all the time. They were super excited when we finally got to move into our house. Like they knew the difference. They were just really okay with going through all of the ups and downs anyway. And in that time that we were discussing contractors, porcelain tile,
and
permits, very thrilling things, I have managed to do all of my nails, and there's no smell to them. It was super clean. There's zero smell. No. And they feel really
like
secure. Honestly, it was quite exciting for me putting them on, and they're like exactly the shape of my fingers. It's actually pretty cool. When you're ordering it, you just take pictures of your hand next to like a business card. Based on those proportions, it judges the shape of your nails, and so when they come out, it's just so gratifying to put them on, and it's like, oh, it's perfect. It's like not over the lines at all. And it was really super easy. Oh, and when you're done, you can just peel it off like a sticker. But if you don't want to peel it off, you can also just wear it for like 2 weeks, which is very impressive. I love it. I love it. This is so cool. Obviously, it's a holiday time, so if you guys want to gift your family or friends Mani Me, you can just go to manime.co, manime.co, and use code JEN for 20% off. Mani Me is also doing an exclusive gift kit that has a $45 gift card, plus their Miracle Base Coat, Magic Cuticle Pen, and a branded pouch for only $50. It's a $75 value, so it's a really amazing gift, especially if there is someone in your life that loves some fancy nails. And they also have new collections that come out like all the time. The one I'm wearing is actually, it just came out December 8th. And I have to say, my favorites are definitely the ones that incorporate glitter, because when you're removing glitter nail polish, it's like such a pain in the rear.
This is my favorite kind of glitter, because it's not
it won't rub all over you and get glitter everywhere. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Ask Jen and Ben. If you guys want to check out Manny Me, I'll leave a link in the info box down below. But if you liked this or learned anything or want to see us do more Ask Jen and Ben's, give us a thumbs up on this video. Please subscribe to see more videos, and we will see you in our next one. Oh, let me know in the comments what you want our next Ask Jen and Ben to be. Okay, I love you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.